This is Micca Terrell, 91.9 Public Affairs and APSU TV. Welcome. We have a very special guest with us here in the studios today. He has a long-standing record of experience in higher education. He holds a PhD in political science from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and until recently, he was the provost and vice president of academic affairs at the University of Indiana University, if I could talk. Last December, APSU's Board of Trustees selected him from a pool of about 100 candidates to become the 11th president of Austin Peay State University. Now, midway through his first month here on campus, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Michael Lacari to our WAPX studios. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Mike, to begin our conversation, please tell us a little bit more about you and your background in academia.
Sure. Well, I've had a long career. I as you mentioned, I earned my PhD in political science in the mid to late 90s, and went off and was a faculty member in political science for a long time, until I made this transition in my career to academic administration and university leadership. And that just sort of evolved, it was something that I found each step in the way in my career to be more and more meaningful, more fun, and each position I had and each step I took, I was able to, make a bigger difference. And so that's sort of how my career has evolved. I've always been looking for, the next thing, the next way that I can serve students, serve the university, serve the community.
And how did because I understand your major area of research was public administration, did that sort of play into your evolution there?
Yeah, it really did. It gave me a lot of sort of professional insights into how organizations operate, how people make decisions, how teams can be built. It gives me professional insight into leadership and leadership development. So absolutely, it was sort of a practice what you preach kind of thing.
Right. Now, what about Austin Peay that attracted you here to our university?
Well, really, it's the mission of the university. It was very, very attractive. Like I said, I want to make a difference. I want to have a career that matters. And, Austin Peay State University is one that is really moving the needle for a lot of students. We have a lot of students who are going off to college, the first in their family to do so. That is a wonderful opportunity to transform their lives, and so that gives me a lot of motivation.
Definitely does. How does that play into your leadership style? I understand you're servant leader type.
Yeah, and so I've, like I said, I've always been interested in figuring out a way that I can make a difference, the way I can serve students, the way I can serve the university, and for me, I derive the most satisfaction. I get the most meaning out of my career when I'm helping other people, and so, that's the way I like to lead. I like to make sure that the teams that I put together, the teams that I have, all have that philosophy of reaching out, of making sure that we're collaborative and supportive, and that the environment is one that is one that's very collaborative, and one that, has everybody else at the top of mind.
Definitely. And there's so much of that already happens here at the university. Have you noticed that you have a lot of that with interdisciplinary studies and everything?
I really have noticed that. And that was one of the strong reasons why I was so attracted to Austin Peay State University. I saw that in place already. It wasn't something where anybody was going to have to come in and try to build that culture. It's a very collaborative, very open and welcoming culture here at the university. And so as I've gone through my first 2 weeks here on the job, I've found that everywhere on campus and even in the community too. And so that's been very reassuring and gratifying and fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's glad that you're like, yay, it's already kind of happening.
It
right?
is, yeah.
So good. Now, based on the most recent numbers that we have from Indiana State University, population size, they're roughly the same as talking about student enrollment. What degree did that size comparison influence your decision to come to Austin Peay?
Well, I think the size of Austin Peay State University and ISU before when I was there is just right. It's Austin Peay is large enough for us to have all of the services, all of the opportunities for students to really dig in and have a tremendously rich academic experience. as well as a co-curricular and extracurricular set of experiences. And so all of that is there for students, just as they would be at a larger institution. But we're not so big that the institution becomes impersonal. We get to know you. We get to interact with you directly, and students have the opportunity to shoulder up alongside faculty and on research topics or anything else, and really get to know their professors. Their professors get to know their students. Same with staff on campus, and so that the environment becomes much more personal than it would be at a larger institution. And so I think we're sized just right. You know, any smaller, and we would struggle to, a university would struggle to provide those kinds of opportunities. Any larger, and it becomes impersonal. So it's just right.
Definitely so. And I know a lot of students, that's why they've chosen to come here,
Absolutely.
because they like that. They like that opportunity to be, you know, like you said, shoulder to shoulder with their professors and other faculty. So
Absolutely.
definitely. Now, shifting gears a little bit, we're fully 1 year. I know everybody's been talking about it's 1 year officially. We've been in this COVID, you know,
Right.
debacle, if you will. And obviously it's changed how we do everything. Obviously, this is beyond the whole serious situation where people have dealt with the illness and how it's affected their lives. Obviously, it's strained the economy, and included here, us here in academia. So student enrollment early and retention, very important right now. We're all really key on working then, a top concern with that. So we have, to some degree, we have obviously students who want to keep here. And then we have, of course, in the community, the high schoolers who are like, okay, I'm a senior, you know, what am I going to do? A lot are deciding to wait it out and not going to college. So what are your plans to kind of reverse that trend and kind of help again to keep the ones who are here?
Yeah, and I think we really saw that in this past fall. A lot of students coming out of high school taking a wait and see attitude. You know, some of them as well maybe were taking a bit of time off for financial reasons too. You know, the pandemic unfortunately really influenced a lot of, you know, household income situations pretty negatively. So, you know, I think we're on the other side of this, though. At least coming towards the other side of this. You know, the light's at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train. And you know, the vaccine and some economic recovery, I think, is giving people some more confidence. In terms of you know, looking forward, we're excited to be laying plans for, you know, a return to normalcy in the summer and the fall. That's very important for us, I think. You know, in terms of recruiting new students, but then also keeping the ones that we have to you know, have some hope and the promise of a return to normalcy, because that's really important for students. I just got done talking about the optimum size and the advantages that provides for Austin Peay. But we need to be in person in order for students to really take full advantage of all of those resources and opportunities. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to getting back to normal activities, normal instruction opportunities and things like that in the summer and fall. So, you know, that's a positive outlook going forward.
Definitely so, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's been really encouraging. I think the numbers that came out last week were more than, I think it was like 518, more than 500 people have been vaccinated here. And again, Austin Peay, a huge role in that in the community on site. So as you mentioned, summer and fall looking like hopefully more normal. How do you think that vaccine is? Do you think feeling like things are going in the right direction with the vaccination?
Certainly,
here on campus?
Yeah, I think so. And our vaccination center here on campus is an important asset for the community and certainly campus as well. And you know, very proud that it was picked up on the national news as well. We're getting some good attention, and rightly so. You know, those folks at the center are working very hard to make sure that that operation is running very, very smoothly. And I know folks, community leaders, are very appreciative of us putting that together and adding our resources to the vaccination campaign. And you know, it's going well. It really is. We're off to a great start. We've been running it now for about a couple of weeks, and you know, we're vaccinating a lot of people, and we're getting those extra doses and things like that. So we've got a good waiting list up so that people can take advantage of those extra doses. And that's going to make a big difference as we roll into the summer. It really will.
Definitely will. And I want to remind everybody who's listening, please check out our WAPX 919 Facebook page. We have a link to the sign-up sheet if you want to sign up. And you're, of course, in part of the eligible group who can obviously be in the 1C to get the vaccine right now. But again, on that same thought, though, hopefully, President Biden said by the end of May, want to open it up to all adults. Hopefully, how would that obviously maybe even move things even more forward?
It would, and that's the real reason why we've got these plans to return to normal operations, throughout the summer and fall. Is that as more and more of the population is vaccinated, of course, then. We can gather and return to all of those fun and important educational opportunities that we're used to having, right? But we have to make sure that we get vaccinated.
Right, exactly, and hopefully everybody use it very, very soon. We're just a few months away.
That's
hopefully
right.
we can get there.
We're very close.
Right. Now, the pandemic is also, as you mentioned, we're all looking forward to being able to do the things that we couldn't, like even faculty meetings. I think will be nice if we can all not be on Zoom again, which is, nothing wrong with Zoom, but I know Zoom fatigue is real. But I also wanted to talk about the mental health has been impacted. Obviously, faculty, everybody's kind of stretched thin. Students definitely firsthand talking with them, and staff as well. We do have wonderful services with student counseling service on campus, but what else can we do here at the university to support everybody who's dealing with the stress of the pandemic?
So I think, I throughout this whole year, it's just been a real challenge, and it's been exhausting. And as you mentioned, there's fatigue with interacting with people, online and through Zoom and other platforms. And it's frustrating too. I mean, for me personally, coming in to a new leadership role in a new community on a new campus in a pandemic, it's hurt my ability to reach out to people, to get to know them personally and have face-to-face meetings. And so I'm anxious, even just from my own perspective, to get through this. But in the meantime, my approach really has always been to emphasize compassion and flexibility. We are operating under weird circumstances, ones that we don't prefer, clearly. And so everybody's just going to have to be patient with each other and with the work situation, with the social situations. And so that means, just being compassionate and understanding and flexible to understand that, the arrangements that we have in place need to be this way in order for us to be able to even do any kind of interpersonal interactions, whether it's, sitting 6 feet apart or talking to each other through plexiglass windows like we are now, or wearing masks and all of that. Okay, these things are not fun, but we need them in place in order to be safe.
Right, we definitely do. And as you mentioned, your transition has been interesting. Share with us a little bit. Has it been a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom calls? How have you kind of introduced yourself to the community and to the staff and faculty?
Thanks. It's been a mix. It's been, a lot of Teams and Zoom calls and things like that with larger groups or even one-on-one meetings. The face-to-face meetings that I've had are very small, just a handful of people at the most in order to stay within our guidelines and protocols. And so it's been a mix, but it means that it's a lot more, right? And rather than being able to sit down with a large group of people all at once, I have to do it either on Zoom, which is not as great as being able to interact personally with people, or a lot of small meetings. And so it's I think it's probably a little bit more tiring than it otherwise would be, but it is what it is, and I'm not sure what else to do, because I do need to get out and meet people.
Yeah, it's part of your job,
It is.
and yeah, you've got to be there to see, put your eyes on everything and to see. So
That's right.
So what do you do to recharge your batteries? Obviously, when I spoke with Dr. Rutter from Student Counseling Services a few weeks ago, he mentioned, hey, find something that you enjoy to help you get that feeling of happy, because obviously that's in very short supply right now for a lot
Right.
of us. So what is your maybe something that you like to do to just for a few minutes to recharge every day?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if it's outdoors, I like to go for a walk or a hike, preferably. I like to get out, and if I can, this takes a little bit more time. So if I've got a vacation lined up, I like to go hiking and fishing. If it's indoors, I'll read, usually history or military history, and then just to try to unwind a little bit.
And those are great things to do. So great. So if you're just joining us, our guest is Dr. Michael Lacari. He's our new president, our 11th president here at Austin Peay State University. And this is 91.9 Public Affairs and APSU TV. Thank you so much for joining us again. So back to the pandemic, we talked about enrollment and obviously the situation with retention. Also wanted to talk to you about funding too. We've had a little bit of help with the federal government, obviously giving us some rescue funds for COVID. But obviously the university in a few months prior asked for anybody who had wanted to voluntarily retire or take early furlough. They were also told that the situation wouldn't improve. Other cost-cutting measures might come into play. So how are you working to make sure we're on a good financial footing as we move forward?
Yeah, and the federal funds have certainly helped fill some holes in terms of revenue that was lost, particularly out of residents' life and things like that, as we especially last year, sent students home and things like that. And so that's been particularly helpful. And the early retirement or voluntary retirement program was designed to trim some costs, but really, the university needs to look forward to enrollment growth and making sure that we continue also to receive the grade support, and I'm very grateful for it, from the state legislature, from the General Assembly. And that combination of making sure that on our performance metrics that we're hitting all of those targets in terms of graduation of our students, but then also improving enrollment.
Right, and it's again, as you mentioned, it's just a step by step. You got to keep moving forward.
That's right. In a university, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. There's no staying put.
Right, definitely. Now to another area of concern, obviously diversity, growing the diversity. We have a great diverse campus with many students from international areas here, wide variety of ages and socioeconomic backgrounds. But obviously, that's something that we need to address. Anyway, how have you thought about growing the diversity of our campus?
So, I think that's one of the real strengths of Austin Peay is the diverse student body, and so we've got that diverse student body in place for the most part already, and so we can grow that, we can leverage that because that's it's a wonderful opportunity for Austin Peay to continue to reach out to the diverse students that we have in terms of the socioeconomic status, the background that you mentioned, age, adult learners, I think is a way for the university to really expand its reach, and then getting back to recruiting international students. The pandemic really hurt every university's ability to welcome new international students as world travel kind of ground to a halt, and so getting back to that is important too.
Definitely. What about military learners, too? I know we have a lot of those, and they play a very huge part in what Austin Peay is all about.
We do have a lot. In fact, somewhere between 20 and 25% of our enrollment is military or military families. And so that is a fundamental piece of who we are as a university. And so that needs to continue, and it needs to grow. And I think there's real opportunities to continue to improve the service that we extend to those students.
Yes, definitely. And of course, community service obviously is a huge part of who you are and a huge part of who we are here at Austin Peay. How do you plan to grow that as well to obviously keep that growing and moving in the right direction?
Yeah, and so I think the personal link that campus needs to have with the community of Clarksville and Montgomery County and surrounding areas, that interface is so important. We're embedded in the community. We're right next to downtown. We're part of downtown, essentially. in Clarksville here, and so we need to have that seamless integration with the community. And that's an opportunity for our faculty and staff and our students to participate in all sorts of community activities, but also offer service to the local communities to help them out, and then also learn as a student. You can really get a lot out of in terms of your just professional growth as a student. In these kinds of opportunities, whether they might be service learning trips or internships and things like that, you can get a lot out of those experiences, and really just to make sure that that relationship is very, very tight when Clarksville and Montgomery County win, Austin Peay wins, and when Austin Peay wins, the local communities win as well.
Definitely. Are there any community groups that you've thought about joining? I understand that the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts are a big one that you've been interested in and belonged to before. And did you want to do that here in Clarksville, Montgomery County?
Yeah. So my wife and I have been involved in scouting for a very, very long time. Our son is an Eagle Scout, and so we provided leadership for the scouting organizations that he was a part of, throughout his whole time, and that's been a really important thing for us as a family. And so, yeah, I'm really interested in getting engaged in scouting here. And then I've been a Rotary member as well, and was on the board of the Terre Haute Rotary Club when I was in Indiana. And so I'm looking forward to embedding myself in the Clarksville, Montgomery County communities here too.
No, we welcome you too. What have you mentioned you like to hike and everything. Have you had a chance to go to Dunbar Cave State Park?
Not yet, although I've driven past the entrance to the state park, and so I know exactly where it is, and I've got my hiking boots ready to go.
So you're ready,
I
right?
am.
Excellent, good. Now back to more of your experience. Obviously, graduate college has been an important part of your administrative role. Any ideas on how to help that grow here? Obviously, we have a really strong graduate program here at Austin Peay, particularly communication department. We have a lot of great students. Bragging a little bit on our folks here who are helping with our production today.
And with good reason.
But how can we help grow that too? Because that's a huge thing. A lot of students are seeking graduate degrees, particularly with the uncertainty of the job market with the pandemic.
Absolutely, and I spent 4 years as a graduate dean, and so I've got a lot of leadership experience in growing those programs and growing that enrollment. And I think Austin Peay is well situated to really take off in terms of, particularly at the master's level in graduate education. There's a lot of professional opportunities for our students, either to go, directly from their undergraduate program into graduate school, or, importantly, too, to offer those professionally oriented master's programs that will attract working adults back to school because they want professional opportunities, professional growth, maybe a career change or a promotion.
Right. And I've noticed that, too. I've seen a lot of statistics saying that a lot of people are choosing to, continue their professional trajectory, so they include that master's in that. What about doctoral programs? I know we've added a few of those already here at Austin Peay. What about adding more to those?
We have, we'll have our first cohort of EDD students graduating this summer, and so that's very, very exciting for us. Doctoral programs can be very, very important kind of toppers for somebody's career path and trajectory, educational training. And so, where appropriate, those can really add a lot of value for students, and therefore, a university like Austin Peay, in terms of our commitment to helping the professional growth of students, can be really, really important tools.
Right, definitely. And obviously growing the research that we put out here at Austin Peay. I know as an administrator, you may not have as much time to do research, but what about growing the research, body of research we have here?
Yeah, and I miss that. The last edition of a book that I wrote, I guess, was, maybe 4 years ago or so. And I do really miss that component of my professional career. And, those opportunities for faculty to engage in their scholarship and their research, their creative works, very, very important because that obviously adds to the body of knowledge that we have in the world, but it also informs their teaching. They're better scholars, they're better teachers. And as scholars, they can also help the local communities in the state of Tennessee as well. So, that scholarship, creative output is very, very important. And graduate programs can actually help in that because it sharpens those expectations of faculty. It gives them some more resources to do their work and access to some of the very, very best students too.
Definitely can, for sure. Now, what have you enjoyed about our campus so far? And this is, again, because we obviously have a lot of amazing places. You've probably seen it's probably been a whirlwind tour for you.
Right.
When we've talked about what do you like most about the campus so far?
So what I really like is its layout. The aesthetics are wonderful. The terrain is really interesting. I'm fascinated by all of the bowls or sinkholes around campus. I think that's really interesting. It's not anything that I've ever been on a campus that's had before, and so that's pretty cool. The layout too is great. It's compact. It's a very walkable campus, which I enjoy immensely. Kirsten and I live in Archwood right here on campus, and so for us to walk across campus to go to a game or to go to the University Center for lunch or dinner or something like that, it's very easy and just very pleasant.
Definitely nice. And one last quick question before we go. As Hoosiers, because again, I was talking to you before, I was born in Michigan City, Indiana, up again, close to Chicago. And of course, you're from Terre Haute area. What about Southern food do you enjoy the most? Is it the grits, the gravy, the biscuits? What do you enjoy the most?
All of the above. It really, it's food that I've liked. I didn't really have consistent access to it. My aunt and uncle and cousins were in Atlanta and then moved over to Charlotte. And so when I would visit them, I would always eat very well. And so I'm excited to be in Tennessee.
Well, we're glad to have you again. Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Lacari, our 11th president here at Austin Peay. Thank you so much. And I'm Micca Terrell with Austin Peay's 91.9 FM and APSU TV.
Thank you.